Hi, good morning everyone. Today I will present legislative body is the most important branches of government as it functions to create law in a country. I will discuss the bicameral system as practiced in Malaysia. For introduction, in Malaysia, the parliament is the most powerful legislative body. It comprises of the Senate, the House of Representatives, and His Majesty, the King of the State. According to the Article 55 of the Federal Constitution, only His Majesty the King has the authority to convene Parliament. Additionally, His Majesty has complete authority to dissolve or prorogue the Parliament. This is the list of the countries that practice bicameral system of legislative. What does the mean by bicameral? Bicameral, which literally means two chambers, describes a form of government with two chambers of two legislative bodies that are distinct from one another when debating. This is the several that use bicameral, that is two chamber, that is United States, Germany, Russia, Spain, India, Brazil, Canada, United Kingdom, Ireland, Netherlands, Republic, Czech Republic, and Australia. Malaysian Parliament, the Chief Administrator of Parliament, Diplomatic and Administrative Officer Grade Chusa, who oversees administrative and financial matters, is in charge of the administration of the Parliament. Two secretaries of the House, the Secretary of the Senate and the Secretary of the House of Representatives, serve as his assistant. The Secretary of the House of Representatives is in charge of all matters pertaining to the House of Representatives, whereas the Secretary of the Senate is in charge of all matters pertaining of the Senate. Yang di-Pertuan Agong. The Yang di-Pertuan Agong, commonly referred to as the paramount ruler, the supreme head of the federation, or simply the Agong, is Malaysia constitutional monarch and head of state. When the Federation of Malaya, now we call it Malaysia, won its independence from the United Kingdom in 1957, the office was set up. Malaysia is the one of the few elective monarchs in the world because the Yang di-Pertuan Agong chosen by the Conference of the Rulers, which is made up of the 9 heads of the state in Malay Kingdom. A constitutional monarch, the Yang di-Pertuan Agong serves in the that capacity. The extent of its authority as the head of the state is set forth in the Federal Constitution of Malaysia and the Acts of Parliament adopted in conformity with it. Power used on the recommendation of the Cabinet, a minister working under the general authority of the Cabinet, the Conference of Rulers, or other officials of institutions are the secretary power as separated into two groups.
Keberangkatan tiba ke bawah duli Yang Maha Mulia Seri Paduka Baginda Yang di-Pertuan Agong Al-Sultan Abdullah Riayatuddin Al-Mustafa Billah Shah Ibni Almarhum Sultan Haji Ahmad Shah Al-Musta'in Billah dan ke bawah duli Yang Maha Mulia Seri Paduka Baginda Raja Permaisuri Agong Tunku Hajah Azizah Aminah Maimunah Iskandaria binti Almarhum Al-Mutawakil Allah Sultan Iskandar Al-Haj berangkat ke Veterana Diraja.
For the termination, the principal head of state for the federation and his wife according to the Article 32. Number 1. Yang di-Pertuan Agong, the head of the state of the federation, will preside over all other officials and will not to be subject to legal procedure outside the special court form in accordance with PAD. The Yang di-Pertuan Agong should be given precedence over every other person in the federation, followed by his wife, Raja Permaisuri Agong. The Yang Pertuan Agong is chosen by the Council of Ruler to serve for the term of 5 years, but he is free to resign from that position at any time by sending a letter personally signed by him to the Council of the Ruler, or to be removed from office by the Council of Ruler. He also loses his right to hold office when the king abdicates. The Yang Pertuan Agong may be elected and be removed in accordance with the provision of parts 1 and 3 of the third schedule. For the function, the YDPA takes on significant responsibility involving the executive, legislative, and judicial branch of the state. The executive authority of the federation shall be exercised by the YDPA or by the cabinet or any minister authorized by the cabinet, according to Article 39 of the Federal Constitution. However, the YDPA must follow the recommendation of the cabinet or a minister acting under the general authority of the cabinet when performing his duty as required by Federal Constitution Article 4, Clause 1. The reference to acting in accordance with the in Clause 1A, advice or after contemplating advice should be deemed to require the YDPA to accept and act upon such advice. This regulation does not eliminate the YDPA ability to ask the cabinet for any information pertaining to the federal government. For the upper house of Malaysia are known as the Dewan Negara, Malay of Senate of Literary National Council is composed of 70 senators, 28 of whom are chosen by the state legislative assemblies. 2 senators are elected for each state, and 44 of whom appointed by the Yang di-Pertuan Agong, that is our king, including 4 are chosen to represent the federal territories. Senator can only be reappointed once, either consecutively or non-consecutively, and the term of office is 3 years. For the membership, federal government in Section 44, the Yang di-Pertuan Agong, and 2 Majlis, that is House of the Parliament, which will be referred to as the Dewan Rakyat, House of Representatives, will constitute the Federation Legislative Body. In Section 45, Clause 1, subject to Clause 4, the following individuals will be elected and appointed to the Senate. Is the eligible as a member? A person must be a Malaysian citizen, not less 30 years old, be sound mind, and not be under just bankrupt. For the lower house, that is Dewan Rakyat, the lower chamber of Malaysia Parliament is called the Dewan Rakyat, which translates to the people house in Malay. For the lower house, that is Dewan Rakyat, the lower chamber. For the issue, the term of office for a senator is 1 term of the 3-year renewable only once. It was previously 1 term of 6 years, and it is unaffected by the dissolution of the parliament. Therefore, the executive is likely to encounter a hostile opposition control Dewan Negara in the event of a change in the federal government since 1957, and hope it will, and this has only happened twice in 2018 and 2020. For the lower house, that is Dewan Rakyat. The lower chamber of Malaysia Parliament is called the Dewan Rakyat, which translates to the People House in Malay. For the membership, 222 members of Parliament who are chosen through election from Federal Constitution chosen by the Election Commission. For the membership, 222 members of Parliament who are chosen through election from Federal Constitution chosen by the Election Commission. For the membership, 222 members. For the function to oversee the House of Representatives, business procedure includes voting and meeting administration, issuing notice of the meeting for member and government agency, providing order papers, processing and editing questions for oral and written responses, and providing orders paper to oversee the introduction of public, private, and adjournment speeches, to oversee the tabling of bills, submitting them for royal assent, and notifying the Attorney General to publish it in the Gazette. For the example, the mandatory death sentence for specific crime was abolished on Monday by Dewan Rakyat or Lower House of Malaysia Parliament. The measure will now be considered by the Dewan Negara or Upper Chamber, and if it is approved there, it will be forwarded to the King to be signed into the law. It is largely anticipated that Upper House will approve it. The modification would apply to 38 crimes that are presently capital charged, including drugs, trafficking, and murder. 11 of them must wear it as a requirement.
Malaysia's lower house of parliament has unanimously passed a bill to abolish the mandatory death penalty. This gives judges discretionary powers in sentencing, allowing them to impose jail terms of up to 40 years instead. In Malaysia, 34 offences, including murder, drug trafficking, waging war against the state and terrorism, well, they're all punishable by death. Of these, 11 carried the mandatory death sentence. These legal amendments are largely seen as a positive change to make the country's criminal justice system more holistic and inclusive. But not everyone is on board. Families of murder victims held a media briefing today to oppose the abolishment. Several NGOs have also voiced their dissent, saying that imprisonment is not serious enough. The bill will be debated in the Upper House and will then be presented to the King before it can be gazetted into law.
For conclusion, a law-making process may be used in Malaysia to enact bill. The legislature responsibility in terms of legislation include the responsibility to change the constitution, approve new laws, repeal existing laws, and pass new law, as well as to monitor their implementation. All of these legislative procedures take place in accordance with established legal framework, whereby the YDPA must accept the bill after it has been introduced and discussed, both of the representatives and the Senate. That's all for me. Thank you.